landscape changed, how and why did you show the patience to wait for the move that turned out to be the right one?
You know, Bruce, I don't know that it was so much about, you know, patience and waiting. You know, my wife is sitting over here and she'll tell you that patience is definitely not my strongest asset. But what I would tell you is, and I know that I got looks in a lot of strange directions at times when I said, as things continue to change, given the assets that our university possesses, we will end up in a great situation. And I believe that. And I don't think if the leadership of the university doesn't believe that it can actually and physically occur. But from the beginning, understanding, I never really realized how understanding media in my old career applied until I got into this job. And understanding how media is transforming our business in many ways, I think ended up being an ace in the hole to understand where the best opportunity would be. But this is about a university-wide deal. I think that Rutgers University won today. The athletic department did not win today.
Hi, Dr. Barchi, Pat Alex.
Wait for the mic, please.
I'm sorry?
We're on our way. Just wait for the mic.
Hi, Dr. Barchi, Pat Alex from the Record. How are you? Any indication whether the university will have to build new facilities or make any kind of a monetary investment to fully come into the Big Ten?
Pat, the discussions that we've had so far with the Big Ten leadership indicate that the facilities we have right now are adequate to allow us to participate in all the programs that we have for the immediate future. I don't think anybody can see beyond the next few years and tell what kind of successes are going to come and what they might mean for Rutgers or for any of our other schools. But I think we're ready to go the way we are right now. We're here to play.
Tom Litchie from the Star Ledger. For Tim and Jim. The target date for getting in, entry to Maryland obviously stated like the end of 2014. Is that realistic for Rutgers?
You know, I'm sorry, Jim,
yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I think that what we want to do in this case is simply allow Rutgers to manage that issue with the Big East. They're a long time member. In the case of Maryland, they were clear. In the case of Rutgers, it's less clear, and I think it's going to come about when it comes about as a result of, you know, good exchange of information between Rutgers and the Big East.
Tom, I would add the same thing. I did speak to Mike Oresco about an hour ago, and that is an issue that, you know, we'll do what we've been doing as a charter member of the Football League in the Big East. We'll work as, you know, productively as we can to resolve that matter and other matters as we, you know, plan to withdraw and enter the Big Ten Conference.
Ralph Russo with the Associated Press. For President Barkey and Tim, as Rutgers committed to football in ways with resources over the last 10 or 15 years that allowed it to blossom, and I'm sure it helped this move, there was some pushback from other people in the community that maybe it had overcommitted. Does this day today, moving into the Big Ten, sort of validate what you felt was the right thing to do? Does this validate those moves?
Well, let me take a first stab at that. Your initial statement was that there were some people who had one point of view, and that's a fair statement. There were others who had another point of view. That's what makes a university a great place to be. There's always more than one point of view. My guess is that there will continue to be more than one point of view. The leadership of the university in the past and certainly now feel that athletics contribute a tremendous amount to this institution that goes way beyond the individuals who are on the field and goes way beyond the dollars and cents in a budget. So for me, there isn't any single break-even point that represents when value is there and when it isn't. I've said all along that we are committed to our athletics program. At the same time, Tim and I have both agreed that we're working towards reducing the amount of subsidy that is apparent in the program. And I must say apparent because it depends in part on how you do the accounting. And one could take the same budgets at other institutions and account for them a little bit differently, and the numbers wouldn't look quite the same. Certainly, having the opportunity to join the Big Ten with the the kinds of opportunities for revenues to flow in the out years will make it much easier to support the athletics program and at the same time to support other initiatives that we want to do around the university. So it may deflect some of those conversations that we have. On the other hand, I think we'll always have them.
Do you anticipate?
Just wait for the microphone, Brian.
Brian Doan, FoxSportsNetScout.com. Jim, just curious, how did Rutgers with the New York market and the Big Ten network all factor in getting into more households?
You know, it was a factor. I think it's been a factor that's a little overplayed, to be honest with you. We have many of our games on a rights fee basis with CBS and ESPN and ABC and CBS College Sports to an extent. We also have a joint venture with the same company that's on your jacket there. Okay. But the assessment by us was really one that there have been a paradigm shift in conferences. We were maybe slow to take it up. We explored, as I mentioned, the collaboration. We lived with 11 members for 22 years. We weren't necessarily seeing ourselves at 14 or 16 members when we added Penn State in 1990. We weren't seeking the New York market. We were seeking a great institution located in an adjacent state with a prosperous academic and athletic approach. It wasn't a TV play. I think it's undoubtedly true that when you have a network, we launched it. We went a year without a lot of distribution. We eventually got some distribution. We continue to grow it, especially internationally. We're in 26 countries, and it's available any place in the world where high-speed internet exists. And so we have had some success. But I will tell you this, when we looked at institutions and markets, if we hadn't been able to really achieve an agreement with Maryland and Rutgers, we wouldn't be here. And so it's heavily institutional. You'd have to be silly not to understand we're in the richest corridor of people and great institutions and maybe in the world, between the financial institutions, the political institutions, the media institutions, the great high schools, the great high school students, the student athletes, of course. But we have not, and this is one of the things that I think is important to say, because it's been said before that television dictates the direction of conferences. One president asked me, have you checked with television about what this means? And I said, I haven't had that conversation, I'm not having it. So whatever happens, happens. But I can tell you, we've not been incented, we've not been directed, and we've not had any guidance from any television company, whether it's a joint venture partner or whether it's anyone else. There's been a lot written about this for those who follow the sports press. But in this case, it may be a factor to assess, but it's not been a determinative factor from the perspective of the decisions that have been made that resulted in yesterday's expansion of the Big Ten membership.
You're in the back with Pat.
Dr. Barchi, you mentioned the subsidy to athletics. What is that currently, and do you anticipate that the revenue from the new conference will eliminate the need for that subsidy and perhaps even create a surplus?
Well, I think there have been various numbers reported in the papers, and I'm not going to go back over the accounting. The commitment that Tim and I have is to reduce that subsidy, however you account it, by about $1 million a year as we go forward. We did it last year, we're going to do it again this year, and it's our intention to continue in that direction. Do I anticipate that this new agreement with the Big Ten will allow us to completely eliminate that subsidy? I wouldn't be surprised but we're talking about quite a few years from now before that fully materializes itself as we work through the transition time frame.
Kelly Habor with the Star Ledger. Dr. Barchi, you mentioned academics and that this means Rutgers is joining the CIC. What does that actually mean for students who are not athletes on campus? And Commissioner, what does it mean academically to have Rutgers in the CIC?
Well, first let me say that we hope that we will be asked to join the CIC. That is not something that's coterminous with being invited to join the Big Ten as an athletic program. It's a decision that the provosts who control the CIC will make. We certainly hope that they will extend us an invitation, and that's been at least the intention that's expressed, and we would really look forward to doing that. What it means is opportunities for increased research and collaboration between the institutions. Facilities that we have here on our campus, for example, we are the national repository for biospecimens for much of the biological research that's sponsored by the National Institutes of Health and elsewhere. Every single protein or DNA structure that's published in this world has to be deposited in a database. Rutgers has that database and controls it. These are incredible resources for researchers around the world, and we do try to share them as best we can. We would really be looking forward to collaborating and sharing with the members of the CIC in an even greater way than we're doing right now. And vice versa. There are many, many exciting programs in these schools that we would hope to extend collaborations to. So there are huge advantages on the research side. Everything we do in research is an opportunity for our students, because our students learn not just in the classroom, but they learn by working alongside our investigators, whether that investigation is an archaeological dig, or a history book, or a research lab in a medical science building.
Go next to Sam, and then we'll go to Brendan after Sam.
Sam Hellman from Fox Sports Nest. This question is for Tim. How soon do you think you'll be seeing the repercussions from the finances of this, specifically with, you know, the rack renovations and plans like that?
I would tell you that, you know, Jim and I had this conversation over the weekend that the minute the speculation started to reach a fever pitch, we started to see it. I started to get phone calls from a variety of different people in our development operation. I would tell you that the poor people in the ticket office right now are probably the hardest working people in the athletic department, but there is an incredible amount of grassroots support right now for this move as it relates to the benefits to athletics. I'm hearing stories out of the ticket office that hundreds of new deposits on football season tickets for next year, and basketball season ticket holders are already renewing and looking forward to following year. We're already starting to see that. And I think as we start to work closely with the conference to figure out how we're going to further capture this market, how we're going to help build that bridge that Jim talked about over Penn State into Maryland and into New Jersey and New York, a lot more of that will start to take shape. And it's just, you know, Sam, it's been an unbelievable week here. I told President Barchi, I said, you've been the president 3 months, in 48 hours you delivered a unanimous vote on the medical school in the Big Ten, you may as well retire. Probably not gonna get a whole lot better than that. It's just been, it's great to see great things happening around this university, and you know, for me personally, having gone here, I take a lot of pride in seeing how it's furthering itself as a great place.
Brendan from the Newark Star-Ledger. Tim, kind of piggybacking on Sam's question, what does this move do for renovating the rack? I know that's obviously been a goal of yours. Does this maybe expedite the process a little bit more?
I think that this, and the excitement around it, and all the things that Jim explained so eloquently up there that it can bring to the member institutions, the collaboration it can bring, I think it advances many of those things on a faster timeline. I think Dr. Barchi put it very, very well by saying, our goal is the same with the finances of this department. I've never made it a secret to you guys when I got here that we were going to fix the finances of athletics and become a self-sufficient operation. This puts us on a faster track towards doing that. And it's not just about realizing revenues that we couldn't currently realize in out years and being able to reduce the subsidy. It's also going to give us the ability to reinvest in a lot of the projects that, as you and I have discussed, Brendan, are well overdue. We've done a really good job getting a third of the way on that project through private fundraising. I think this takes things like naming and other private fundraising to an entirely different level, because what it means for the program long term.
Here in the back of the room.
Casey Greenberg with ESPN. Jim, legends or leaders? Is there any talk which team, which schools will be placed in which division?
Yeah, I know there's been some reports, especially coming, I guess, out of the Maryland announcement yesterday, where someone had already created new alignments. Those are news to me, I'll be honest with you. But there's, you know, one of the great things about expansion is the speculation surrounding expansion. It's one of the most remarkable kinds of, I don't know, side shows associated with what actually happens. You know, going back a couple of years ago, we issued a statement saying we wanted to look at it, and we had 9 different institutes. We ended up with 1. We had 9 different confirmed reports of institutions that were going to be voted into the Big Ten. Yesterday, we had 1 institution. Today, we have another. There is no foundation, in fact, relative to who's going to be in what division, because our athletic directors have not sat down to discuss it for one moment. But I expect it'll be high on their priority. We've had a lot of business in the early in 13, but that'll be one of the things that they'll tackle. And the reports yesterday just have no basis in fact.
Tyler Bartow from the Daily Tarum. Tim, how does this move affect your Olympic sports in terms of longer trips and finances and things like that?
Tyler, I would tell you the effect on Olympic sports is going to be positive in every way. And there's a lot of ways that you can look at it. I think the surface area people will approach will be the travel issue. But I would tell you this, that in the new Big East, we were facing the same, if not more, of those same issues. So I think that that's something that we're entirely comfortable with. You know, Janine Percaro, who rode shotgun with me on every step of this, our CFO in athletics, and I looked hard at that issue. I mean, we tore the numbers up, we fought with each other about it, and we really looked hard at it. But we also at one point said, we're facing the same thing currently, if not a more drastic situation. But the difference was we didn't feel entirely comfortable that the financial resources would be there to be able to handle it in such a way. But we tore that issue up, we feel entirely comfortable with it. I'm excited about what the Big Ten Network and all the platforms the conference has built means for Olympic sports at Rutgers. Because the hardest thing about recruiting is always visibility. And I think this creates a platform of visibility like nothing Rutgers fans have ever seen.
Got time for 2 more questions. We'll go first to Matt Hallock. Wait for the Matt to come up.
Matt Hallock, Rivals.com. Tim, there were some rumors going around about the possibility of playing some home games at MetLife as part of going into the Big Ten. Is that something you guys have discussed or are considering?
We did discuss it, and honestly, 3 years ago when we played Army at MetLife Stadium, I had the same conversation with most of you about it. The beauty of our location and the geography is we have multiple options to compete in certain sports, football and basketball, off our campus. We've invested a lot in this stadium, we've invested a lot in the experience here, but we're always going to look at those things. Now, Jim and I and Dr. Barchi had a very direct and frank conversation about that, where I even asked if that would be something that the conference would require us to do. It's not something we're going to be required to do, but I will tell you that we're going to continue to do what we have been doing. We're going to look at those opportunities. I want to be a good partner to my new colleagues in the Big Ten. So if we can move a game on an infrequent basis to MetLife Stadium or to Yankee Stadium to help create new visibility and exposure for this conference in the East, we are absolutely going to look at it, and we are very likely going to do it.
Great. One last question. We'll go to Kelly in the back there, Trey.
There was talk yesterday at Maryland that this move for them might help bring back some of the sports that were cut. Sports were cut here at Rutgers a few years ago. Is there any hope that those might be brought back because of this move?
Kelly, I'm very aware of that issue. You know, I actually spent my first 30 days here a few years ago reading through every file, document, everything that was there. And I would just tell you this, that we're going to focus first and foremost on making the 24 sports we have here as healthy as we possibly can. And then at that point, I think we want to try to be open-minded to look at everything, but the focus now is going to be utilizing this new relationship and the resources it provides to make our 24 sports as healthy as possible. Facilities, scholarships, travel, academic support, all the intangible things we need to be successful. That's really where we're focused right now.
That concludes today's news conference. Thank you again, everyone, for attending.